later on. But moving on to our big focus this evening, the death of Savita, a 31-year-old pregnant Indian woman in an Irish hospital that has made international headlines and sparked protests against Ireland's very tough anti-abortion laws. Savita's family alleges that she died because doctors treating her said abortion is illegal in Catholic Ireland, even though she needed one to save her life. Thousands of people rallied outside Ireland's parliament on Wednesday to demand that the laws be eased. The Irish government has ordered a probe and also said that they'll ask an independent expert to probe the matter so that it stands up to the world's scrutiny. Here in India, the opposition has described Savita's death as murder, demanding intervention by the Ministry of External Affairs.
Widespread outrage over the death of 30-year-old dentist Savita Hatnawar after doctors refused to carry out an abortion, even though she was miscarrying and there was no hope for the fetus. The Irish doctors told her, "We are a Catholic country, no abortion." The laws in Ireland still do not permit abortion, though in 1992 the Supreme Court allowed abortions in cases where the mother's life was in danger. There is no law to regulate it even 20 years later. So Savita's doctors had to wait until there was no fetal heartbeat before removing it. By then it was too late for Savita and she died of septicemia.
Indians Indians ಕಾಯ್ದೆ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು ತಮ್ಮದೇನಾರ ಯಾಕೆ ಮಾಡೋಲ್ರಿ ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ನಾವು ಹಿಂದೂ ಅದೇವು ಕ್ರಿಶ್ಚಿಯನ್ರಲ್ಲ ಮತ್ತೆ ಹಿಂದೂಗಳೆಲ್ಲ ಹೋಗಿ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ತಾರ ಅವತ್ತೇ ತಮ್ಮದೇ ಕಾಯ್ದೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇದು ಒಂದ್ ಆಗ್ತಾವ ಎಷ್ಟಾಗ್ತಾವ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನೀವು ಈಗ ಇವ್ರಿಗೆ ಪ್ರೈಮ್ ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟರ್ಗೆ ನೀವು ಇದು ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು.
I request our central government to conduct an international inquiry and also to change the law of the Ireland.
But so far, the Indian Ministry of External Affairs is waiting for the results of the probe that the Irish authorities have ordered after the outrage over Savita's death.
Our sympathies have been conveyed to the next of kin by our embassy, which is in touch with them. We understand that the Irish authorities have initiated 2 inquiries. We are awaiting the results of these inquiries.
But demands for the Indian government to act are growing louder.
सविता जी की एक तरह से हत्या का मामला है जो सीधे सीधे मानव अधिकार से भी जुड़ा हुआ है और देश में चिंता का भी कारण बना हुआ है. हमारी सरकार से मांग है कि तत्काल विदेश मंत्रालय और सरकार उस परिवार को न्याय दिलाने के लिए इस पर उपयुक्त कदम उठाए.
Savita's death has reignited an old debate between anti-abortion and pro-choice lobbies, and Savita has become the mascot.
Every day that the government fails to act to legislate for the ex-case is another day that women's rights are being violated and women's rights and women are potentially being placed at risk.
Savita's death has galvanized public opinion about abortion rights in the UK and Ireland. Very vocal activists from the pro-choice lobby have come out to make themselves heard. More protests are being planned for later on in the week. But of course, this is a very sensitive subject and the government in Ireland will look to balance opinion on all sides. Rahul Joglekar in London for NDTV.
And so the big question we're asking tonight is whether the Catholic Church needs to revisit its views on abortion. That is the big debate this evening. But first, let's go across to Kitty Holland of the Irish Times, who has reported extensively on this story. Kitty, thanks for joining us. What can you tell us about the impact that the story continues to have there? We saw so many people come out and protest outside the Irish Parliament yesterday. Our activists saying that they're going to step up their campaign on the abortion laws in Ireland as a result of this case.
Yes, absolutely. Good evening. It's from Dublin. It's a huge issue here. It's been leading the news. It's taking up pages in newspapers. And as you were reporting, there was a big protest in Dublin last night of up to 2,000 people outside the Parliament, which, given that it was organised on social media, Twitter and Facebook, in the space of really about 6 or 7 hours, is quite an enormous turnout in Dublin of small population. So there are more protests planned. I think there's one in Belfast in Northern Ireland tonight, and there's one in Galway where Savita was living in the west of Ireland. And there's a national day of solidarity and demanding legislation for clarity, which is going to take place on Saturday afternoon, in Dublin. And that is expected to be absolutely enormous. People who would never protest or wouldn't have a political bone in their bodies are saying they are going to take part in this protest, that the lack of clarity on the abortion situation here lack of guidelines for doctors. It has to be changed. It has to be addressed, and no other woman should ever go through what Savita did for 1 week in hospital and go away.
Isn't it though a very tough task for pro-choice activists there, because most of the country is Catholic, and I understand that from whatever opinion polls have been carried out and surveys that have been carried out, most people still believe that abortion should be illegal.
Well, I think that most people would believe that abortion on demand for an unwanted pregnancy should be illegal, but there is certainly a growing number, probably more than half now of the population would, if it was put to them, say that in circumstances where the life of the mother is under threat, that abortion should be illegal, and it should be legal, and that it also should be legal in cases of rape or incest or abuse. So there are certainly circumstances that I think the majority of people in Ireland would feel that abortion should be legal, and if the lack of access to an abortion has played a major role in Savita's death, as her husband Praveen certainly believes and her family certainly believes, then I would feel that the majority of people in Ireland would feel that she should have had access to an abortion in that situation.
Katie Holland, thanks very much for joining us there from Dublin and giving us a sense of how the story continues to unfold there. Let's go straight to our panel this evening. Our women activists joining us on the panel tonight. We have Ranjana Kumari and Pinky Anand from the Catholic Church. We have Dr. Dominic Emanuel and John Dayal joining us in the studio. From London tonight via Skype, we're joined by author and historian Patrick French, and we'll also be joined by Sarah Rack, who is a pro-choice campaigner in England. Let me ask Father Dominic Emanuel first. Do you think that the Irish hospital did the right thing, given that this is what they believe?
Let's go one by one. First of all, we have great sympathy for the family of Swati and what has happened. Savita. We really sympathize with the family and with her and her family. Secondly, I want to clarify that Ireland is not a Catholic country. It is a secular democracy. It is not a Catholic
country. Most people, more than 80% are Catholic.
Let's make a distinction. The difference between what a Catholic country is, that the government is Catholic, or the overall population.
The overwhelming majority is Catholic.
Equally you could say that this is a Hindu Rashtra, which is not.
The point is 84% of that country is Catholic, and abortion is illegal.
80% of this country is Hindu.
So is it a Hindu point?
No, that's what I'm saying, first of all, because there is a controversy that it's a Catholic country. It's not a Catholic country. Thirdly, as far as the Catholic Church is concerned, since Catholic name has come there, I want to speak about that. That yes, abortion is a complete no-no, and it says that even in cases like this, where the life of the mother is in danger, the focus should be not on aborting the child, but on saving the life of the mother.
But here
so the whole focus,
linked.
They should try to save the life of the mother as well as that of the child. But in case they cannot, then while focusing on the mother's health, if as a fallout of that the child is affected, then of course nobody is to be blamed. But the point is that both lives are important. Lives are important, whether it is that of a child or of a mother, of anyone who meets on the accident. Everyone's life is important, and that's why, let me just digress for a second.
No, I just want to ask you, but my question is, did the hospital do the right thing according to you? Did they do?
I do not know the details. Even the government has asked for an inquiry.
Based on what you know, that the doctor said, and we're going to play out an interview we did with Savita's father as well, that the doctors told them we cannot abort the baby because the laws in Ireland don't allow us to.
That's true. If the laws don't allow, they can't go against the law, because then they would be taken up to task, wouldn't they?
But a woman lost her life.
No, this is in the process. It might have happened, and there are so many mistakes doctors make. We are not justifying anybody, but as far as the doctors were concerned, maybe their tests were wrong, maybe. And maybe there was a moment of a fraction of a second where a judge.
You don't think that the law is unreasonable?
No, I don't think law is unreasonable.
Ranjana Kumari, can we still say that? Can we still say when a woman has lost her life at the age of 31?
This is shocking. This is completely irrational argument. If it was to happen to a man, if a man if nature had given this possibility that men get pregnant and die in the process because of such a mindless thought, then I think it would have been changed centuries back. But since it is women's life and women continuously are denied right over their body, it is women, if they want their pregnancy, it is their body which is going through all this process of pregnancy, then they should be able to decide, make the choice.
On the life of the child.
But the law, listen to me, 84% of, that's also not true, because 84% of the Irish people are of Catholic orientation. 54% people have voted for changing the law and to make the law into pro-abortion law. To
that doesn't
give
make it right.
Give the right to the women. But at the same time, Ireland has not really made any decision about that. But Ireland is only out of 4 countries in whole of the Europe which is violating the human rights law of Europe. In fact, European Union has also said that Ireland should look at the, they're violating the rights of women continuously.
Unlike Father Dominic Emanuel, you are saying that Savita died because the law is absurd.
Absolutely
It's absurd
wrong.
unfair.
A wrong law is in place, and that was observed even at the cost of a woman losing her life. It's so ironical that Ireland is one of the topmost countries in the world, first in the world to protect the lives of women. Women during childbirth die almost like, they're on the top when it comes to protecting the mothers. And look at the way they have put a law in place where a woman is dying, doctors knew the woman will die, and they wanted to protect the law and not protect a life. So what kind of a life law is this?
No, I
I'll come in here.
There are many issues to it. There's a medical issue, there is a legal issue, and there's the Catholic position. There are 3 different issues. The medical issue first. I think the doctor made a very irrational, almost criminal error of judgment.
Okay, you admit that.
I admit, of course, because there are many options. If you knew that this would end up in the death, and even if you knew that the Catholic law, you call it, which I don't call it, because Ireland, as everybody knows, is a republic. Only the Vatican is a theocracy. There's no other, it's not like Saudi Arabia is a theocracy. Only the Vatican is a theocracy from a Christian point of view. All of the countries are republicans or democracies of various sorts. Here, the doctor had many options. If he knew that the girl is going to die, and I entirely sympathize with the family, he could have taken many options, because even within the Catholic law, as Father Dominic has said, saving the life of the woman is paramount. If you can save the life of the baby, so far so good. If you can't, that is God's will. There he could have taken a decision. The irrational decision, of course, is you can always take the baby and the mother to London, where abortion is, and it's
Well, in this case, they couldn't do that. She was critically ill.
Around 5,000 women.
She was critically ill and she's going to die, and aborting the baby was the only
Women are going out of Ireland for abortion. Almost 5,000 women go out of Ireland for abortion. So what kind of, that does not mean that women are not exercising that right. More and more women want to exercise that right in Ireland.
180,000 women leave Ireland every year to go to London to have their abortions. Most of them are abortions on demand. That is not the issue.
So what is the issue? Then why to have a law where you are not able to protect the life of women and you are protecting the life of
countries
which may not have taken the life
an irrational law?
Countries India has so many.
Father Dominic Emanuel doesn't think it's an irrational law. Do you think it's an irrational law?
India has the highest proportion in the world.
No, I'm asking you, is the Irish law irrational?
I am answering your question. I'm not saying irrational. I'm saying countries make irrational laws. That's a different issue. India makes one of the most horrendous laws on earth. That's not the issue. The issue is, could the life of the girl have been changed, saved, if the doctor had taken a decision, understanding that she could die? He had within his power, even within the Catholic laws,
to do that. Okay.
So
you're saying it's a gross error of judgment as far as the hospital is concerned. Let me bring in
the doctor,
as far as the doctor is concerned, Patrick French. How do you think this incident, Savita's death is making huge headlines there right now, but is it really going to be a turning point for Ireland, which has been struggling with what to do about its abortion laws for a long time?
Well, this is clearly a heartbreaking and tragic situation, and just to put it in context, I myself come from an Irish Catholic background, even though I've lived most of my life in the UK. Now, this has been a problem in Ireland for many decades. The this ludicrous situation where Irish women have to go across the border into the north or else go to England in order to have abortions. And I think what needs to be done now very urgently is to have abortion law reform in Ireland. That doesn't mean that you have to immediately move to abortion on demand, but you clearly have to have a situation where in heartbreaking cases like this, the life of the mother is put first.
Why do you think, though, that it has been so difficult for Ireland to do this? There is a Supreme Court ruling there from 1992 that says that when a woman's health is at risk, abortions should be permitted. Why has there been this reluctance to put that into law?
Because of the fact that if you go back into Ireland's history, the Catholic Church has been immensely powerful in terms of education, healthcare, and general social interaction, whether at the village or at the town level. And Ireland has changed hugely during the course of my lifetime. But what has not happened, is that politicians should have come forward and said, well, this is a difficult and contentious area, people have many different views, but we are going to update and modernise the law on abortion. They've simply dodged around it and done nothing.
Sarah Rack, you're a pro-choice campaigner. Do you believe that Savita's case is really going to make a difference in the way Ireland now looks at this law? Do you think that there will be enough pressure brought on now to make changes that you're seeking?
Well, I think we have to see, but I think it's certainly already had a massive impact, not just in Ireland actually, but across the world, with people seeing what the impact of this law actually is. With the fact that in the past, doctors even have claimed that there is no case where a woman's life would be dependent on having an abortion, but actually this case makes very clear that it is a matter of life or death, that women have the right to have this medical treatment they need. And I think that this case has really exposed that, and so people are very, very angry, and this could well be the boiling point on that issue.
But do you think that it also then expands into the larger and long-standing debate on abortion and a woman's right to choose and do what she has to do with her own body? Because it's not just about life and death situations, but about women's rights. Do you think it's going to expand into that larger abortion debate and whether the church needs to revisit its views?
Yeah, I absolutely think so, because people who claim that they are pro-life, I think this really exposes that they're not in any way pro-life, because a woman has lost her life because of those policies, and also because of the fact that they often claim that the issue about abortion is that women don't want babies, that they don't care at all, that they casually go and have an abortion with no thought. And actually, in this case, Savita did want this baby, but the point is that her abortion was medically necessary, but still the so-called pro-life camp are against it. And that makes clear what it's actually about, is controlling women and controlling women's bodies.
Isn't that what it's going to become, Father Dominic Emmanuel? Isn't it going to become a larger debate again on abortion and a woman's right to choose?
I am actually very surprised that the word abortion is used so casually, as if it is crossing the road or something. I call it actually murder of an innocent, defenseless baby. That is a life, and life has to be protected, and we are talking about life both of the mother as well as that of the child. Every life is important and it has to be protected, and that is why even when the Supreme Court gives the order of capital punishment, we oppose that, because life is important. That person has to be given a chance to change himself or herself. So I am totally against this whole issue about abortion being used so casually.
But I have a question. If the mother's life is in danger and the child has to be aborted.
That is precisely what the church has said very clearly, that both the lives are important, both the lives need to be protected, but in case you cannot at all protect the mother's life because of the child, you must focus on mother's life and totally try to save the mother's life. And in the process, this is the clear position of the church, in the process, if something happens, your intention should never be to kill the child. You're talking about killing your mother, but you have no.
No, but one second. But that's very different from saying yes, allow an abortion, allow an abortion to take place to save the mother's life.
Abortion is not allowed. Completely not allowed.
This woman lost her life. This woman is dead. How is that pro-life?
We are saying that the life of the woman is important. We are waiting for what the results of the investigations are.
In this situation, Pinky Anand, you come in here. Is this going to actually, this debate expand beyond Savita's case and become a larger debate about abortion, which is of course very contentious and very sensitive?
Absolutely. The question. No, the point is, so far we are talking about abortion. In this particular case, first of all, if you just take Savita's case, it's one of the grossest cases where you're actually having somebody being murdered, assuming that this is a situation which will be confirmed by the experts who are going into the matter. But from whatever it appears, the woman's life was in danger. Had the abortion been done, had the doctors intervened and taken the fetus out, the mother would have survived. And this kind of position, I think when human rights are being talked about, we cannot even dream about talking about a higher order of debate on choice and no choice. So let's be very clear. I'm sure, Ireland in any case has been having the bill in the parliament, I understand, for amending. It is just because politicians, as somebody rightly said, do not want to change the course of events because of Catholic leanings of 84% of the people, and they don't want to antagonize the people. But this is not a matter of religion. This is not a matter of anything else. It's not a matter of politics. This is a matter of human rights, a matter of a woman's life, and I am certain that this law would be changed immediately in the very near future. The question of pro-choice might come at a little different stage, because that is a matter of some debate as far as certain beliefs are concerned. But for a moment, if we leave that, as far as death is concerned, as far as risk to life is concerned, and I'll just tell you, if you compare it to the situation where, for example, in India you had the practice of sati. Sati was considered a very honorable practice because of certain beliefs, but ultimately you had a law which compelled and made sati as an offence, as a murder, and after a point of time it stopped. This is exactly the kind of situation that one sees Ireland is facing, and that is what is happening. What we want to save the lives, save the life of the law.
No,
and I just want to add something else here.
Let Ms. Anand complete. Yeah.
Yes, as far as the Supreme Court is concerned, in 1992 Supreme Court of Ireland, the judgment in terms said that if there is a risk to life, in that case, you might know the girl was raped and she was a young girl and she wanted to abort the child, failing which she was prone to committing suicide, and the Supreme Court considered that issue of self-destruction and said we have to allow this to happen. And within the Irish law, there is a provision that laws can regulate this, and the Supreme Court gave a wide definition to laws and ultimately laid down guidelines. This should have been followed, but it has not been followed. So there is a clear omission here. Secondly, in any case, this must be clarified for all and sundry that this kind of disaster should not be perpetrated on anybody. Savita has been an unfortunate victim of this entire facade.
Granted. I just want to say one thing. I want to remind all the panelists that the United Nations Universal Rights, one of the fundamental rights is right to life. Let us all remember that every individual has a right to be born in this world.
We are.
Savita had a right. What about Savita's right to life? This is what we want to know. What about the woman whose life?
Okay, one second. Everyone's talking at the same time. Ranjana Kumari.
The whole discussion has to be at two levels. Level one, should state legislate in such a way that women lose right over their body? Should there such laws be in place where state controls women's bodies?
Yes, and that
should that be allowed? This is the fundamental question at this stage that women in Ireland are asking. Globally, women are asking that should the law be legislated in such a way. So what about, pro-life, there is a fundamental right of women over their body. Now what is happening in that right?
Who has invented this argument about right over body?
Yes, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by
what is invented? What is invented? Yes, okay, let John Dayal answer that. What is that? Is why what is happening to women?
First of all,
do we imagine that we control our bodies?
Let me come back to the point I was trying to make. First of all, let me express my absolute delight in this very sorry and sad issue that this debate is taking place in India with the highest infant mortality, with the highest childbirth mortality, with
Well,
the
but we do have
highest gender violence.
No, but we do have medical termination of pregnancy, right? We do have that. We have medical termination of pregnancy, right, in India.
Pinky, in a brilliant exposition, has pointed out the legal situation in Ireland, that the thing exists in Ireland for a happy termination of this situation, sorry situation. The blame must lie with the doctor. He erred in his medical prognosis, he erred in his understanding of the law in Ireland, and he certainly presumed that the law was so tight-bound that he had to almost do things.
Because that's the way the law has been implemented in Ireland all these years. Because nobody has implemented the law. Nobody has implemented that Supreme Court ruling in its spirit.
Pinky just explained why the law exists on the books. There is a law on the books which could have led a better outcome of the situation. That is what Pinky said, and I entirely agree. The social teachings of the church entirely.
But we require a clarification for sure. While we say this, I must add that there must be clarity in law so that it percolates to the entire country.
Who can question that? Who can
it cannot be that in oblivion.
Yes, absolutely. Law must be clear.
But that's not the situation in Ireland. That is why
of the law was an issue here, not the doctors and the doctor's understanding of the Catholic teaching. Father Dominic has said clearly that we value the life of the infant, not to be born yet, and of the woman. We value both lives. They're both in the balance. At that balance, we value the life of the mother more.
Anywhere in the world.
We value the life of the mother more.
That would be, but you know, when a specific question is put, that when her life is at risk and the only option is to abort the baby, you say you can't abort the baby. What about Savita's right to life?
No, that is precisely what we are saying. You should focus on saving the life of the mother.
What does it mean?
We are saying that.
What does it mean?
Absolutely.
I just said
of every possible
if that is the only
is the focus on the life of the mother, or is the focus on the abortion?
No, the life, the abortion is life. There are two lives involved here. The life of the fetus, because of which the woman lost her life. Because they were trying to save the life of the fetus, and that is the reason the woman has lost the life. And because there is law in place where they could not have gone for abortion. That is the whole thing. That is how the state has given
I just want to get Patrick back. Patrick, you know, this is like I said, a very contentious, very sensitive issue, not just in India and Ireland, certainly in the United States and in many Western countries. Do you think something like this can actually make the Catholic Church sit up and think for a moment about its views on abortions, or is this something that will actually further polarize views on this?
So I don't think it's a matter of changing the Catholic Church's views. It's a matter of getting the government to act, or successive governments in Ireland have refused to legislate for K-sex, despite, as was mentioned earlier, proposals being made in the Irish Parliament by particularly Socialist Party members in Ireland, but that's been blocked by all of the main parties there, and I think it's time that ordinary people and women need representation that's really going to stand up for them in politics.
Patrick, the question to you is that do you see, though, the church perhaps being forced to alter its view on abortion, maybe not now, but in the near future, as women become more and more aware of their rights and become more and more vocal about their rights?
Well, I think sadly at the moment there's very little sign of the Catholic Church under the present Pope moving forward on issues of this kind at all. I think it is quite likely that the government in Ireland will change the law and at least introduce some sort of clarification because of the strength of popular feeling about this. But I think there's one other point I should make just before I go, which is that we've had the Men of the Cloth on your program talking about murder, talking about a casual attitude to abortion. And it's very noticeable that Catholic priests always talk about a casual attitude to abortion, and yet the reality is that women who go through abortion go through physical and emotional pain, and very rarely, perhaps never, regarded as simply a casual act. And I think that the way in which the Catholic Church pushes people away if they have different opinions on this is tragic. And let's not forget one last thing, which is that the Catholic Church still, in the 21st century, with terrible overpopulation throughout the world, still has a ban on the use of contraception. So this argument or debate is not only about abortion, it's also about this highly restrictive reactionary teaching on the issue of contraception.
Father Dominic.
Patrick, this is why we are saying that the life is very important, and what you said about that it is being casual, it is being spoken about casually. That's why we want to be strict about it, because life is important. That is what we are saying again and again. For everybody, life is important. So we are actually saying what you're saying.
No, but I think what Patrick is saying is that it's not a casual thing. For any woman to undergo an abortion, it's something that takes a toll on her body and her mental health.
That is one
It's
argument.
not an easy decision. Nobody walks into a clinic and says, I'll do it.
No, if you do not allow contraception,
that is all the more reason.
Father.
That is all the more reason, because women have to go through such pain.
so they should have multiple pregnancies and as many children as they can be produced. So the body should be abused by having as many children because you don't allow contraception and you don't allow abortion. Logically that should mean that there will be 10 to 12, 15, 20. No, but it's all connected.
It is a larger debate on the church's position. It is a larger debate on the church's
Larger
position.
debate is that if a woman is suffering, as Patrick said, a woman suffers emotionally. So do you want the woman to suffer by going through an abortion?
No, but should
Do you want
she should not allow it to choose.
If she's been raped and she has a pregnancy, that's okay.
You see, you're bringing
Should you not allow?
No, I'm asking you, where do you stand on that? If a woman is raped and she gets pregnant,
I have seen
should she abort?
programs. I have seen programs.
Why should women go through 10, 12, 15 pregnancies?
I have seen.
Why? She can choose. If
In
she
a
wants
country
to have
the courts
as many
allow
children as she
raped
wants to
women
have.
marry the rapist.
But should women not have right to choose? Should women not have right to choose as many children as they want? Or if they want children or they don't want? No. Well, by using contraception and aborting, both, yes.
Oh my gosh,
yes.
please do not talk about abortion.
Because that
Actually,
is,
this is
because that is the
this is
right
outright
over
murder.
her own body. No.
Does woman want to murder?
No,
As
you
a mother, would you like to murder a
well,
child
if
that
I
is in
don't
your
want a
stomach?
child, I don't want a child.
So you will murder the child?
Well, this is not murder. This is
Okay, everyone is calm down.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Listen, since I don't usually butt into arguments, the main point is contraception, abortion is not a family planning issue. Abortion is not an instrument of containing families, never was.
It's about choice.
It's about
a woman's right over her own body.
And every man's right
We are
to murder his
discussing
wife.
a
and so on and so forth.
determination which is dictatorial by a regime.
Yeah, Pinky, go ahead.
No, I have not
See,
seen
what
a
I don't
woman.
understand this whole argument. You know, in every country where abortion is permitted, it is not as if people can go and abort for fancy's sake. There are certain tests and guidelines put into place. There is a certain age. For example, in India, it is 20 weeks. Only under that you can get an abortion done. If doctors and qualified doctors specify, it is not as if it comes in easy. But at the same time, today, can we talk about a civil society where women, which are one sector of society, are forced to abide by the decision of others qua their own life and of a life which has started. It is not something which is already in being. Even scientifically, fetuses come into being as an independent existence after 20 weeks. You know, we have to start narrowing down here to stop being obstructionist
science you
in the
should talking
lives
about, I
of
don't
other
know.
people.
Pinky, which science you're talking about? I don't know.
Science.
No, there is no medical
Medical
science.
science
which
has
says that.
considered
Life starts
no.
after 20 weeks
You're saying
when the
will
child
not make a
starts
difference.
the... Yeah.
Well, I think that's where the crux of
These
the
are
argument is.
officially determined scientific data.
Yes.
Well, I think that's where the argument
20
really
weeks
starts.
is when a child becomes an independent
I think the church
life.
has a different view on when life starts. Scientifically there may be a different view on when life actually starts. I'm going to leave it at that as far as this debate is concerned, because I do want to play out an interview that I did with Savita's father earlier today. He has of course been very kind to speak to us. It's a very, very difficult time for him. I spoke to him earlier this evening. Mr. Yargi, I'm so sorry for your loss, and I really would like to thank you for taking out the time to speak to us at this very difficult time for you. Can I first ask you just how Savita's health deteriorated to the point where it just became necessary for an abortion to save her life? What happened?
Of the October as a back pain, and afterwards it was okay. Then 22nd also I met her and she told that it is fine and there is no any worries. Then I came to India on 24th some abortion took place, but according to the Irish law, they are not going to conduct the abortion, and also the doctor neglected her. Due to that, her body deteriorated on that spot.
But did the doctors clearly say that they could not carry out the abortion because Ireland has a population of Catholics? Did they say that in so many words?
Yeah, but my daughter said to the doctors, I am Indian and I am a Hindu, I am not Catholic, you please conduct the abortion. But they are not cared. See, they were telling that this is land of Catholic, we have to obey the laws of Ireland. See, they have not conducted anything.
Did you have any option at all though to take Savita to England where abortions are legal, or was her health in such bad shape that she just couldn't have travelled?
No. See, in this critical condition, how can we take them to England? They are not allowing to take outside, and how do we can take to England?
After she died, what did the hospital and the doctors say to you? Did they say anything?
They have not said anything. They have just declared that she is dead, and now their investigation is going on there.
Do you think, sir, that your daughter's death could actually be a turning point in Ireland where the law may be forced to finally change? Your wife has also spoken today of how unfair it was to subject Savita to this when she wasn't even a Catholic.
Yeah, definitely the law should be changed. Whatever the rule there in Ireland regarding, let them, it should be for Catholic, not for Indian or Hindus. It should be changed.
Finally, sir, is there any chance that you would go to court over this issue, take the doctors or the hospital to court?
Now the investigation is going on. After hearing the investigation, we will take action accordingly.
All right, Mr. Anandappa Yargi, Savita's father, joining us there earlier this evening. Thank you, sir, for speaking to us. I also spoke earlier this evening to Brinda Karath, who's been very strongly speaking on what the kind of intervention the Indian government needs to do. This is what she said. I spoke to her earlier today. Ms. Karath, you gave a very strong reaction today to the tragedy in Ireland. The BJP has called it a murder. Do you agree with that?
Well, yes, I think there is a culpability, and since she has lost her life, it's not a question of legal terminology. There are people whose decisions took a life, and therefore they are responsible for the loss of this young woman's life.
What do you think, though, that the Indian government can and should do on this? Because at the moment, you know, they're reluctant since it's not a government issue per se. But is there something you think that they can do to intervene?
But I think it is a government issue in the sense clearly it's the Irish laws which were imposed on an Indian citizen who desperately required medical help and who is denied that help because of, you know, a certain legal framework. I think that Indian citizens cannot be denied that kind of emergency medical help apart from all the moral and ethical issues which are concerned in this tragic case. For example, the control of a woman over her own body. And so, I mean, there are so many other issues here, but in any case, I think the government of India does have a responsibility. She was an Indian citizen. The government is responsible for the welfare of Indian citizens, particularly when they face this kind of horrible tragedy. And I expect the government will act.
But this entire debate about women, about abortion and women's rights over their bodies, do you think that this is an issue that needs to be revisited? We were talking about how sensitive an issue is, but is this a debate that needs to be revisited?
Well, you know, the thing is that these are the countries who claim to be the most civilized countries. These are countries who claim that they are the most democratic countries, and yet such a basic question about a woman's right over her own body, whether she wants to have a child, whether she does not want to have a child, that is really her personal and private concern and that of her family. And we have seen it play out in the American elections when we've had these absolutely grossly sexist comments by Republican candidates talking about women who become pregnant because of a rape. and even then they were to be denied rights to abortion because of some understanding of being against religious belief. And I think that is really, it is absolutely abhorrent that religion should be used to gain control over women's bodies the way it is being done in many so-called developed countries of the West. So yes, I agree with you, this is an issue which should trigger a much wider global debate. As far as India is concerned, I am appalled that an Indian citizen, a young woman, should lose her life because of the totally anti-women frameworks in another country.
Brinda Karat, thanks very much for speaking to us. Well, we'll take a break now on Left, Right and Centre. We'll be following Savita's story closely in the days ahead. There is some news that has come in on Channel 4 in the UK that Ireland's government has pledged to clarify its abortion laws after Savita's death. What that means, we'll try and figure out for you in the next few hours. We'll take a break, but on the other side, the other big story here in India and in Mumbai, concern over Bal Thackeray's health. We'll go live to our reporters Tejas and Maloni to bring you an update.
Left, Right and Centre, brought to you by Accenture Consulting Technology Outsourcing. Accenture, high performance,